Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the first of our three-part series, Your Next Steps Simplified, Planning, Moving, and Selling with Ease. My name is Erin DiCarlo. I'm the founder and owner here at Dovetail Companies, and we are also the Dovetail Group at Compass, a senior real estate specialist brokerage. I'd love to introduce you not only to myself and my co-owner, Lauren Watts, but also Joseph Scott, who's our Director of Move Management, and Julie Ford, who's our Director of Home Sales and Community Liaison. The four of us will be guiding you through this three-part series, taking this overwhelming task of planning, moving, and selling, and breaking it down into very specific, individual, manageable bites. So what gives us the credentials to be here bringing this information to you today and through these upcoming series? We have dedicated our careers to supporting older adults as they think about this next chapter and also as they execute each step. Lauren and myself and Julie are certified senior advisors. Lauren and I are also certified dementia practitioners and care managers certified. And Lauren, myself, and Joe Scott are accredited senior and specialty move managers through the National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers. And we also specialize with aging successfully at home in place. So not only can we help people transition from the long-time home, but we can also help people adapt their homes to successfully age in place at home. And Julie Ford, Lauren, and I are senior real estate specialists, seller representative specialists, and realtors with the National Association of Realtors. And our real estate services are offered in partnership with Compass, Massachusetts, and the country's largest real estate brokerage. And we're excited to talk about that service as well with you. That is the Selling with Ease Part 3 in our series. So through my many years working in the aging industry and space, it was important for me to create a company that has a holistic approach to all things aging. So we offer a variety of support and resources to our clients, not only from planning, but actually executing a lot of these different pieces. We are care options counselors. We help people maintain a lifestyle that they're used to and that they'd like to create for themselves moving into the future. We oversee and support the planning for a major life move. We provide a lot of education and awareness around all things aging. And we support with obviously the selling of the long-time home, which can be a really overwhelming, not only logistical process, but obviously emotional as well. So we're taking a whole look at the situation for our clients and not just supporting with one piece, but ensuring that there's success with all of the various pieces as they come together. So today is Planning with Ease in our workshop series. We hope that you will join us for our other two as well. But we feel really strongly that if you don't have a plan, it's hard to execute and move forward. So we find often, because we live in an ageist society where people really put their blinders on, we don't necessarily embrace the aging process. We don't talk about it. And oftentimes we don't plan for it. Many people can find themselves in this first scenario, which is crisis. This is kind of an oxymoron to say crisis planning. I will give a silver lining to a crisis. It forces people into putting a plan together, even though it's reactionary. And unfortunately, we've seen many clients through the years in this crisis situation. It's not great. The most informed decision is the best one. And so when you have to gather information in a crisis situation, sometimes that information is very limited. And so we obviously don't advise crisis planning. What we see really is common in a lot of older adult clients is this up and down planning. Something happens. People say, okay, either it's a diagnosis or a change in marital status or the death of a spouse, and it motivates people to say, okay, I need to do something. And they start to make progress a little bit, but then life gets back in the way and people get busy and derailed a little bit, but it kind of ebbs and flows. So there is planning happening, but it's not in a linear progression. The third scenario is doable. It's making a plan, addressing needs ahead of time and as they arise, and ultimately getting to your end goal. Our goal with all of our clients, and it can happen, is how to successfully execute your plan with ease to get from point A to point B in a successful progression each step along the way. Why does this all feel so hard? If you're coming to this video today feeling a little overwhelmed or I'm not sure where to start, please give yourself some grace, because we are literally programmed as human beings to feel overwhelmed and scared. It's called the negativity bias. Lauren and I, about 5 years ago, started studying positive psychology. If you're not familiar with that term, please dive into learning more, because it's changed our lives personally and professionally, and how we support not only each other and our families, but really our clients. We are designed to lean into fear 3 times heavier than feelings of joy or happiness. This served us well as humans in the caveman times. It's how we ran away from tigers and survived. But as we've evolved as a species, it's really been detrimental to our health and our overall well-being to be in this state of fear or unknown. And so what this means for all of us as humans is that just to equal negative thoughts, feelings, emotions, or actions in our lives, we need 3 times the amount of positive thoughts, feelings, actions, emotions in our day-to-day. So I don't know about you, but if you turn on the television or listen to the radio or read a magazine or a newspaper, it's evident that we lean into fear more. That's why we're seeing it everywhere. So you have to make some conscious decisions. And today's the first step, hopefully in this webinar, to say, okay, I see you and I hear you. I might be feeling overwhelmed or stuck, but there's something I can do about it. I can start to shift my mindset and my energy and make progress towards my ultimate goal through successful planning. The reason we talk about some of these lofty ideas in this webinar is that in order to execute a plan and some of these real big life decisions that you're about to make, you need to be motivated for change to do that. It's one thing to have lofty ideas and put them on the wall. It's another to do the work and actually execute. And so we're explaining here a little bit about what goes into the human psyche to make this all happen, so that you can understand when you start to feel stuck at different points in this process, this is why, and this is what you can do about it. So you've probably noticed in our society over the last decade or so, there's a lot of those lofty words being thrown around. One is this idea or this notion of your well-being, that it's important to focus on increasing your overall well-being. Well, what does that actually mean? And how do we take that into action items? Like, how do we measure that in real time? So another principle in positive psychology is this, Martin Seligman, who's one of the forefathers of this study, came up with this model of what's called the PERMA model of well-being. We've added the H to Martin's original PERMA, but essentially we can look at our overall well-being by breaking it down into these 5, and we now have 6 pillars that are actually not only measurable, but attainable. So if you're feeling a little out of whack and a little overwhelmed and demotivated to make these changes, what we'd ask for you to do is look at each of these pillars in your own life and see where there's some opportunity for growth or change. So the first is those positive emotions. When you look at your day-to-day or your week or your month or your year or your last decade, how much of your day is filled with positive emotions, positive feelings, things that lift you up and make you feel good? Not surprising when I ask my clients these questions, it's not always a lot. They're not given the opportunity to have a lot of good feeling emotion. So we start to look at and ask the question, why is that? Where are there areas in the day to increase those positive feelings and emotions? The second is engagement. It's a basic human need for us to be able to be deeply engaged in activities throughout our day. Things that may be a little challenging for us, but that we're passionate about and we want to learn more about. A lot of people find this engagement is more attainable during their working years. And so really gaining clarity in your retirement years and later than that in your third, as we call, of life, where are there opportunities for engagement? Where are there opportunities to learn new skills or do new things or meet new people? Which leads into a really important pillar, which is relationships. We as humans have a deep need for connected, meaningful relationships in our life. And as we age, friends may pass away, move away, our work, peers have changed. So taking a deep dive into the relationships in your life, and do you have a variety and a decent amount of deep relationships with other people in your life? Meaning we have a need as humans to leave this world better than we came into it, and participating in meaningful activities. A lot of people find this through volunteerism, or they may have a faith-based organization, attend church or synagogue, or whatever their deep faith may be, or not. Back to the volunteerism, people feeling the need to connect on a deeper level in their experience here on Earth. So if you're not finding that bucket is full for you, maybe there's opportunity to think through that a little bit more. What are you passionate about? What can you take into the world that's unique to you? And then achievement, we need to feel successful in the activities that we are participating in throughout our days. We see this a lot with clients with cognitive impairment. Maybe there's a loved one with dementia in your life, and forgive you for you not know, but sometimes people might be putting down by saying, oh, mom, you can't do that. You're not able to do that anymore. Or that's not something that you're good at. We need to feel successful. So, having mom continue to fold the laundry, that's something she can do successfully throughout her day. Or for us, if you're learning to paint, you're picking up back to that engagement opportunity. You're learning to paint and you've just learned how to make a beautiful picture with watercolor. These are things that are successful and build up our overall well-being, which is key to sustainability later in life for our overall health, emotional, physical, and other, which leads into health. We do think it's important to talk about that our health does impact our well-being. So as much as we're able to live a healthy physical and emotional life, that's going to have a major impact on our overall well-being. So once you take a look at that and you see where your deficits are or where there's opportunity for growth in each of these, and you're feeling like your bucket is full, then there's an opportunity to address your plan. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So let's talk about that for a second. We have clients who will have our initial consultation and then they have these big lofty goals. And we say, okay, that's great. It's great to have goal setting. What's the plan to get there? We don't really have one. So what we want to say in the big picture, and we'll dive into this in the more nitty gritty, is one, it's super important that you stay connected to supportive people in your life. Lauren and I have a worksheet on this. We're happy to send it to you if you have interest. It's called the attractor and the detractor worksheet. Who are the people in your life that your phone rings and you see the name come across the screen and you say, oh my God, it's so great to talk to you. There seems to never be enough time in the day. You feel better after talking with them and they really just lift you up. That's what we would call the attractor. The detractors in our life are the people where we see the phone ring and we see the name and we say, not right now. Like I just kind of the Debbie Downers. When we hang up the phone or we stop seeing them for a visit, we feel drained. They're not the people that necessarily fill our bucket or lift us up. When you are about to implement a major life transition or a plan, it's going to be hard. There are going to be days that you're feeling a little exhausted or not motivated. You're going to need the attractors in your corner to help lift you up, to keep you on track, and to help you stay motivated. Connect with people and resources that support your vision. If you have a goal that you know your adult daughter is not going to support, she's probably not the person to lean on in those moments of detailed planning. So make sure that you are surrounded by, we see this a lot for senior living clients. There's a few communities that are what we call new construction. So there's a lot of clients that are maybe on the wait list or planning to move in a year or two when the community opens. The energy we see between those clients, getting excited together for what's to come, helping keep each other motivated and on track. Those are the people you want to stay connected with that are in alignment with your vision and your plan. And you can also do the same for them, help keep them on track. But those are the people you want to have around you. And then we want to break all of this down into small items that you can do each day to stay on track. Joe Scott, who you'll hear from in the next session, he talks about don't try to boil the ocean. Take small, manageable steps, attainable. So he gives the example of if you walk into your basement and say, okay, my goal is to clear out my basement. Well, there needs to be a specific plan to do that. Because if you just walk into your basement and think that you're going to clean it out this weekend, you'll realize that that is not a small, attainable action item. Maybe the goal is I'm going to go through all of my holiday decor in the left-hand corner of the basement. And I'm going to sort into what items I'm absolutely going to keep and the other items that I am going to donate. That's a small, actionable, attainable item that's not trying to boil the ocean in one step. And then if you come off course, always remember to turn to your why. What is the big picture goal here? Why am I trying to declutter my basement? Because I really want to right size into that new community that opens in a year. It'll help motivate you when we connect our actions back to the reason behind it. We tend to have more energy to successfully execute the item we're trying to complete. So in order for any human to actually effectively stay committed to change, we have to have motivation. So if I want to write my will and my last testament with a lot of details on, who in my family I'm going to leave items to, that's a big emotional and logistical task. You're going to need motivation to stay determined for that project. And this can be applied to any action item that comes up in your planning. There's three things. This goes back to the self-determination theory. Psychologist Richard Ryan and Edward Deci, part of the positive psychology practice that we've really leaned into. So in order to stay self-motivated for change, there's really three things that have to happen for all humans. We need to remain autonomous. We are in control over what's happening in our life. We see this a lot with the ageism in America, all over the world, that people swoop in and try to take over our planning and our life, usually from a good place. They love us, they're worried about us, they're concerned. But when our autonomy is taken away from the process, it derails everything. So we want to remain in control. We need to feel competent, that we're able to execute the task that's at hand. This is where staying in alignment with the right professionals to support you is so important. Like, for example, talking about the will and the last testament, making sure we're working with an estate planner who can help you be competent in that project or that task. And then the third piece is remaining back to this connection, remaining connected with others that you feel are supportive for you. So if it's doing your estate plan, so creating a trust and a will and all of these things that feel overwhelming to you, as long as you remain in control over your decisions, you're working with someone that allows you to be competent in executing that goal, and you remain connected with people who make you feel supported, that plan is going to be executed pretty quickly. Now, what if it's not? We get a lot of this, we have these trainings and people feel motivated and excited to start to put their plan together. And then they wake up and they're having a bad day. And they're feeling overwhelmed and they get sucked back into kind of that fear cycle or that cycle of overwhelm. Gabby Bernstein, who's an author, she's also a positive psychology enthusiast. She created something that's very simple, which is called the choose again method. So essentially, it's a simple to use 3-step process. I use this with myself, with my children at home, with my clients. Essentially, if you notice that you're coming off track, the first step in the 3-part is just notice the thought. Any thought, feeling, or action that's not good. So I'm feeling anxious, sad, nervous, overwhelmed, whatever it is, just notice it, name it. What are you feeling in this moment? The next is just forgive yourself. Forgive the thought. Of course you are. This is a major life transition. It's all overwhelming. So feel it, name it, forgive it. We were given a plethora of emotions as humans for a reason. So forgive yourself for feeling it. And then the magic happens at step number 3, which is the choose again. So what is in this moment a better feeling than what I'm feeling right now? I'm not asking you to go from, 0 to 100 here. So I'll give you a real life example of a client situation that I experienced recently. So I was with a woman who was recently widowed, and we were talking about downsizing. She was moving from her home to a continuing care retirement community. And when we walked her home and we walked into the garage, she became so overwhelmed with anger. Her garage was full. Her husband was a woodworker. There were probably thousands of his tools and a lot of his creations that he had made through the years. And she just said, oh my God, I can't believe all his stuff. I told him for years and years and years, you got to downsize and get rid of this stuff. And now look, it's all left on me. Look at all of this, Erin. What am I supposed to do with all of this? She was really angry in that moment. And so we took a second and stopped. I said, take a breath. It's okay. You're obviously feeling angry. She's like, I am angry. I just feel like I'm left. He's gone. And now I'm left with all this stuff to deal with. And I said, are you really angry? Like, is angry the feeling for you that's really describing what you're feeling? And in that moment, she began to cry. She was sad. Believe it or not, sadness is better than anger on like the hierarchy. And I have this, if anyone's interested in the hierarchy of emotions, the highest is joy and then love. She was really sad because her husband had passed away and she was now alone facing this major life transition without him and his support. And so we talked about that, and I validated that this is really hard and really sad, and we'll deal with the tools. That's what we can do with ease as senior move managers, but that she needed to give herself the autonomy in that moment to feel the grief and the sadness and shift and choose a better emotion in that moment. And so obviously by the end of it, she was feeling better. We took a minute. We say a lot to our clients, and I'll say to you here today on this webinar, you can't go over it. You can't go under it. We have to go through it. But when you're supported with the right people, with a quality plan, the going through it together is not nearly as painful as you think it may be. So what planning stage are you currently in? Obviously, this is different for everyone. So are you just starting to think about what are your options as you age and you think about your future? Are you just in like the planning, what I would call the pre-planning stage of what's out there? You're just thinking about it. Or have you already started to narrow down your options? Do you want to successfully age in place at home? What will that cost to adapt your home? What will that look like on a day-to-day living situation in the future for you? Or are you touring condominiums, townhomes that may be a better physical fit or environment for you? Or are you looking at senior living communities? Really, where are you in the planning stage? Because that will impact on the support that you need depending on the stage that you're in. Or have you already chosen where you're going to go? You've gone through that. By the way, if you've chosen where you're going, congratulations. I feel very strongly that's the hardest part of this process, even though you may not feel that way. It is just going through all of that, finding where you're going to go takes a long time, but it takes a lot of emotional bandwidth to make that decision to transition from that home. And then I don't know where I am. We do a lot of these webinars actually in person as presentations. with older adults. And there's always a handful of people who say, I don't even know where I am. I'm just feeling overwhelmed. And so I came today. So that's okay too. If you don't even know why you're here, you're in good company, because I'm sure there's other people watching this that are in the same position as you. So once you get clear on what stage you're in, there are different challenges and action steps to take within each of those areas. It's complimentary. We're happy to walk through this with you one-on-one, because this is so unique and specific to you and where you're at in your planning. It's a little hard to dive into all of them on a granular basis, but in a high level review of this, depending on the life transition stage that you're in, we want you to focus on three things. We want you to be open to some of this existential thoughts we're going to plant the seeds on today. We want you to be really clear and mindful and intentional with some of your responses to this. No one's going to read your answers. This is for you. If you are a couple experiencing this and going through the planning process together, do this separately. We as couples are individuals, and we think and process information and have different goals than each other, and that's okay. So do this individually, and it'll be very interesting to share each other's answers, and be very realistic with yourself. In order to have a quality plan and execute a quality plan, it's important that you be very realistic. Excuse me, I'm actually battling a cold today as we get through this webinar. So if you're just thinking about your options, there's some common challenges there. You just don't know what you don't know. Where do I begin? I think it's really important as a first action step, if you're just thinking about options, and this also is true for narrowing down choices, please align yourself with an expert who has navigated these waters many times over. Because this is probably some of the largest decisions you'll make in your adult life. And you want to make sure that you're making an informed decision. So working with professionals who've helped support older adults in your situation many times over will help minimize poor choices that could be made. We have a lot of people we've met in my last 17 years in the industry who've said, I wish I reached out sooner. I maybe have made some poor decisions because I just didn't know that options and resources existed. And we're happy to connect you to some other experts if you need guidance in other areas. So other common challenges with just thinking about my options is your budget. We're going to talk about the professionals that you need in your corner through this process. A financial planner is imperative for disseminating a lot of this information and putting a plan together. We've had people all the way through the process of narrowing down their choices and choosing where they're going to go, and then finding out at the 11th hour they can't afford that option. So we want to make sure in those first two stages of narrowing down choices and thinking about options that you have a quality financial planner who understands the needs and the costs associated with aging. This also goes for aging in place at home. Some other narrowing down my choices, some common challenges. We see that people focus on location oftentimes first. So they start with looking at options in their backyard. There may be other options that are a quality fit for your needs that aren't in your backyard. And so sometimes a big challenge is that people don't know about options that may be a really good fit for their needs because they're not in their backyard. So again, an action step to take is aligning yourself with professionals who help people narrow down options and make sure that no options are left off the table that may be a good fit for you. Another common challenge we find in all of these stages is how important it is to engage influencers in your life in these stages early on. So you can be derailed pretty quickly from someone in your life if they didn't know you were going down this path. So we see this a lot with adult children, well-meaning adult children. If you didn't tell them that you were thinking about, for example, leaving the long-time home and you're touring options, they come in to visit for a holiday and say, whoa, what do you mean, Mom? You can't sell this house. Like, I grew up here. I was thinking someday, you know, little Johnny would buy this house from you. So if you're having those conversations early on, engaging your family or other friends or influences in your life, you're going to address those objections and obstacles earlier on so that you can clearly and mindfully move through the other stages of this process. And then if you're chosen where you're going, this is where the challenges of How am I going to get there? Okay, we're excited about where we're going, but we have this house full of stuff. What are we going to do? How do we downsize, or what we say, right size into that new environment without a plan? And that's where aligning yourself with a senior move manager, getting a budget in place for what a move and a downsize will look like, helps minimize those pain points in your planning. And if you're not sure, this is where we do some bigger picture existential conversations with you about, what do you want to see for yourself in the future? What's most important to you when you think about aging? And so as we start to get the answers to those questions, you get a lot of clarity on what you want, how you want it, and when you want it to happen. Again, being in alignment with the right people to support you is going to help you move forward with that planning. Which leads into who is in your support network. We call this your professional tribe. Who's here to support you? Please don't go at this alone. I think back to the ageism in America piece here, because we don't plan for it, we don't talk about it, we don't embrace it. People are making major life decisions with limited information. Let's get away from that. There are amazing experts in the aging space here and happy to help you with your planning. So you have your family and friends. Make sure you're engaging in those conversations very effectively. So you have to get really clear on your goals and wishes for your future before you can effectively communicate that to the people in your life. And then being in alignment, do you have a certified financial planner who has a lot of experience working with older adults? For example, if you are moving into an assisted living, let's say your spouse needs personal care services, or you're aging in place at home and you're bringing in home care, a portion of your expenses are tax deductible for the cost of care. So these are all pieces that are important for you to know. If you or your spouse are a veteran, there are veteran benefits available for you to help cover the cost for care. That's important that the professional, the financial advisor you're working with, know about those resources, so that you're mapping all of that out to make sure that whatever choice you make, it is a good fiduciary choice for you that you can sustain long term. And then usually the professionals involved are all working together. This is going hand in hand with your estate plan. So making sure that your assets are protected, not just for tax purposes. So this is where we have very deep conversations around trusts, wills. It's not just for potentially keeping funds out of the hands of a nursing home. We hear that a lot with advertisements. It's more than that. If you are hoping to gift funds in the future after you're gone to a child, using the vehicle of a trust avoids gift taxes. It avoids the painful probate court process. So all of this is talked about and put into a plan far before the need. That's the biggest gift you can give to your family, is having a plan in place. And oftentimes we have a training called Parents Don't Want to Be Parented. Why role reversal happens and what to do about it. And usually it's because the older adult didn't put a plan in place for themselves. So the kids feel the need to swoop in and take things over because they need to, because it wasn't done. So when you do this for yourself before a crisis, before the need, it's such a gift. But second to that, your estate plan and your financial situation every 3 to 5 years, or if there's been a change in status, need to be reviewed. Things change. Let's say you name your adult daughter the trustee and the heir to your inheritance, and she's going through a divorce. And the husband could have access to 50% of all of her gains. That's really important to make sure you update your estate plan to make those changes so that maybe the husband will not have access to those funds. That's why it's imperative to always be reviewing your estate plan. This is another worksheet we provide. Please feel free to email us info@dovetailcompanies.com if you'd like any of these worksheets. Who is in your corner? Or who's not? We see often that our clients don't necessarily have these professionals already in place. And are they the right people? So family and friends, we hear a lot, oh, my kids will help me. My kids will help me with packing and moving, or my son will help me clean out the house. Is he well equipped for the task? Will your daughter be the person to prepare meals? or help with housekeeping in the future. Making sure you're asking the people that you're expecting to do the tasks, one, are willing, and two, are able. If your daughter's a nurse and she says, yeah, mom, I'll help take care of you when the time comes, and you're expecting her to manage your finances, maybe she's not the person that's well equipped for managing finances. So maybe that's an area where you find that you'll need support. There's a whole wonderful industry of professional bill payees who help support older adults later in life with managing finances. Maybe that's something that's needed. Legal, financial, real estate. Oftentimes, older adults' homes are their largest financial possession. So the real estate component is a big piece of this for our clients. Do you have a trusted senior real estate specialist who's going to help you with the preparation and listing and selling of your home? Or maybe you need to know the value of your home for your estate plan. You're not planning on moving, but you need a quality realtor to help do an assessment of the value of your home. Who's that person that you would pull in that need? Do you have an estate planner or an elder law attorney that has drafted your trust and your will and your estate? Or do you have a general practice attorney that has done all of those documents for you, but maybe they're not the best professional for the job? When it comes to elder law and Medicaid law, it's constantly changing. You need to make sure you're working with an expert in this space. Same with that financial advisor. We see a lot of clients, financial advisors have retired, and their accounts may be passed on to a young person who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience in the retiree world. So this is where we need to advocate and make sure that you have the resources that are in alignment with your specific needs. The financial needs of a millennial are very different than your needs. So making sure you're working with a trusted advisor who's all in and is an expert in the older adult space. Community resources. There are councils on aging, senior centers, care managers. There are wonderful community resources out there. If you find that meal preparation is a challenge for you, connecting with Meals on Wheels resources, or what we call here in Massachusetts, ASAPs, Aging Service Access Points, for laundry, housekeeping, transportation, just making sure that you have plenty of resources in each one of these columns. And if you're working through this worksheet and finding that you don't have the resources, please don't hesitate to contact us. We're happy to help connect you with the appropriate resources. Moving support. If you're thinking about downsizing, do you have someone who can help with estate sales, donation, clear out services? Each of these areas could feel very overwhelming to you if you don't have the professionals or the community resources to support you. So please know that as soon as you're in alignment with the right professionals for your planning and your goals, it's able to be done with ease. So a lot of people feel that we have to declutter our house, downsize, get rid of all the stuff and the junk, get ready to list and sell our home, and then find where we're going to go and move and settle into our new place. When you're thinking about planning, one thing we want to be really clear and just plant the seed with you today on this webinar is really try and think about getting clear on where you want to go, getting excited about that option, moving and settling into that place. So just focus on where you're going, just focus on the part of getting there. And then with ease, the professionals can help you with what's left at your home. So estate sales, donation coordination, clean out services, and then ultimately your home will sell faster and for much more money when it's prepared well after you and your belongings have been removed. Then your home will sell with ease at the last piece of that process. So we really recommend flipping the way people typically think about this process. Most clients come to us thinking they have to get their house ready for sale, sell it, and then move into their new place. We strongly recommend that the process be done in opposition to that. And we have a lot more information on that if you'd like to learn more. We do just want to plant this seed because of the current real estate market. There's a lot of chatter and fear in the air about what to do and how to do it. Should we rush while the interest rates are changing? We just want to plant the seed with you. And we'll talk about this much more in the Selling with Ease part 3 of our series. Just remember to put yourself at the center of this equation. Don't worry about the real estate market. We have some really positive news for that in the next webinar. But it's all, this whole process is a master plan created by you with our support along the way. So it's an honor to be with you today. We look forward to continuing the conversation in our part 2 series, part 2 and 3, but please don't hesitate to reach out at any time. My name is Erin DiCarlo. You can email us info@dovetailcompanies.com. Find us online, dovetailcompanies.com, and check us out on social media, like and follow. We look forward to hearing from you and continuing the conversation. Hope you have a great day.